Good morning. Today is Thursday, March 26th, calling this Utilities Committee to order. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Casey,
Present.
Ray, Shadwell, Davis. Present. Hudson. Here. Valencia.
Present.
Thank you. Not only is today Utilities Committee Day, but it's one of the most exciting days, not just because it's Utilities Committee, but for opening day of baseball and the Guardians tonight. So this is a day that everybody has at least a day of hope until probably 1 in the morning tonight and the league starts. So Director, if you want to come on up to the committee table, we'll get started. Ordinance number 1368, 2025. Oh, wait a minute, before we start, this is our first Utilities Committee hearing with our new members. So if we can introduce ourselves, and Director, if you can introduce your team as well. These are the individuals when it comes to the Department of Public Utilities whom most of us deal with. So Director, if you want to introduce first.
Sure. Marty Kane, Director of Public Utilities. Been in that capacity for about 6 years. Proud resident of Ward 15. Long time, born and bred, and happy to be here. Happy to meet you all, and look forward to working with you. Commissioner Margavicius, Cleveland Water. Well, I'll let them do it. Commissioner.
Thank you, Director. Yes, Commissioner Alex Margavicius, resident of Ward 11, and been commissioner since 2011, initially acting, and May will be 41 years for me at the Division of Water.
Wow. Mr. No Tie.
I apologize for no tie today. Ryan Lopez, Interim Commissioner, Water Pollution Control. I've been in this capacity almost 2 years now, and I've been at Water Pollution Control for 18, and I've been a proud resident of Cleveland my whole 52 years. So I look forward to working with each of you as well.
And where in Cleveland do you live? What ward?
I live in your ward.
Somebody did not ask how you voted. All right. So, good morning. Ammon Danielson. I'm the commissioner at Cleveland Public Power. I guess I am the odd one out. I am originally from Oregon, Florence, Oregon, and I have been here in Cleveland since, I think, November 14th, about 3.5 years ago. So, still happy to be here.
It's good to have you. Councilman Davis?
I'll start us off. Austin Davis, Ward 7. I believe, Director, I've seen you drop your son off for high school in my ward, so there's a little, I got a smidge here.
Yes.
Councilman Mike Polensik, 10th Ward, Senior Member of City Council.
And I'm Brian Casey, Chair Utilities, Ward 13, and it's good to see that the Eagles are more represented than the Wildcats at the table.
Good morning. I'm Nikki Hudson. I'm the councilwoman for the new Ward 11.
Good morning. My name is Tanmay Shah. I'm the council member for the new Ward 12 for Edgewater, Hudell, West Boulevard, and Jefferson.
All right, and I look forward to a great working relationship with this committee and the Department of Public Utilities, but let's get right into it. Ordinance number 1368, 2025, by council members Casey and Griffin, by departmental request, an emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Utilities to enter into one or more requirement contracts without competitive bidding with the Safety Company, LLC, DBA, MTech Company to provide proprietary parts and services to maintain Q's pipeline inspection trucks and equipment, including labor for the Division of Water Pollution Control, Department of Public Utilities for a term of 2 years. Director, this is 2 years, $300,000, and I believe the Q's pipeline inspection trucks are the TV trucks.
That's correct, Chairman. So we call them the TV trucks, but those are the camera trucks that are used by the Division of Water Pollution Control to assist in identifying and isolating any sewer issues in order to better manage the staff to efficiently get in there and remediate any failures or blockages. These are expensive trucks. Water Pollution Control currently has 2 of them. The most recent one was purchased in 2025 at approximately, well, it's over $500,000. So this is, the Q's pipeline trucks come with proprietary equipment and parts and services, most importantly that are currently under warranty in the newer truck and even some in the older truck. So it is a proprietary direct award. We do realize council and certainly the chairman's position on direct awards, but if we don't use the selected vendor of the truck, then we jeopardize some of our warranties. So in certain instances, and you'll see them a couple of times, where the equipment that we use comes with proprietary maintenance and warranty vendors. That is the case here with the safety company, LLC DBA MTech. We have had a long working relationship with them, and the Division of Water Pollution Control, the commissioner and staff work closely to make sure that this necessary equipment is maintained.
All right, open it up for questions from the committee. Councilman Shah.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Director and Commissioners. Thank you for your time and your labor out there. Wanted to just briefly understand, and as I'm new, forgive me if I'm asking things that are a little more well-known amongst my other colleagues, but I think I'm understanding the process why after you explained, but can you just fully explain without the competitive bidding part?
Sure, through the chairman to the council member. So the two vehicles that we have used for years are these Q's pipeline inspection trucks. That was originally by public procurement. We got the best technology at the time and worked with them. And it has been a number of used. It's a certain make of this TV truck, which is, it might look like a box truck on the outside and it says water pollution control on the side. But on the inside, that is all the monitors, commuter equipment, and the cameras that go down into the main sewers and across to the laterals. So this is the proprietary vendor that maintains that equipment. So they're Q's pipeline trucks that are maintained by the safety company DBA MTech. So we're asking for approval to re-engage with MTech for an additional 2 years at approximately $150,000 a year. And we budget that based on historical data, but also in a worst-case scenario, should we lose a camera. We need the contract in place and the money allotted in order to get that piece of equipment back into service as soon as possible.
That makes
So this is the proprietary nature of the relationship is between the Q's pipeline truck, who manufacturer of the truck, and MTech, who is their local regional provider.
I see.
So if you have this truck, you have to engage with this company to make sure that you keep your warranty on this equipment.
And at one point, if my understanding is correct, we did go through a competitive bidding process and they were selected in the past.
Chairman to the council member, that's correct.
Okay, that's great to hear. And final question to the director through the chair is that do we have any alternatives to this that is not proprietary or that wouldn't bind us? Has there been any type of a market analysis for future?
Chairman to the council member, yes. When we did look at the procurement, when we bought the new truck, we started that process in probably 2023, evaluated all the evolving technologies in sewer inspection and camera work, and it still was proven to us that the Q's pipeline truck was the standard in the industry, exceeding the expectations of what we need to deliver for our customers. So yes.
That's great. Thank you, Director.
Is that it? All right, thank you. Any other questions on 1368?
So moved.
Seeing none, 1368 stands approved. Please sign up. Ordinance number 1513, 2025 by council members Casey and Griffin by departmental request, an emergency ordinance authorizing the purchase by one or more requirement contracts for hauling and disposing of residuals from the Crown Water Works plant and its emergencies, other water treatment plants, authorizing the Director of Public Utilities to enter into one or more requirement contracts without competitive bidding with Polydyne Inc. for polymer chemicals needed for dewatering Crown's residuals for the Division of Water, Department of Public Utilities for a term of up to 2 years. Director, this is going out to bid for the Crown Water
Correct.
Treatment
Yes,
Plant?
Chairman.
And this is the continuation of the treatment process at Crown, correct?
That's correct.
All right.
It's actually an integral part of the treatment process at Crown. I will give kind of the overview by way of information, and certainly the commissioner is the expert. But Crown is unique of the 4 water treatment plants within the Division of Water, as it is not directly connected to a water treatment processing plant. What we use at the other 3 is the regional sewer district by forced main. So the residuals, the things that we take out of our great Lake Erie water, we have to, at Crown, ship it. We have to move it off-site. So specific to Crown in the city of Westlake, we are not connected to a water treatment plant. So through the process, which is a gravity-fed press dewatering system with newer technologies that I'll get to with the Polydyne. And the result of that process is an organic material. It's called sludge or cake, depending on how you want to think about it, comes out of the good, clean Lake Erie water. We ship approximately 350 trucks of that a year out of Crown of the traditionally dewatered material. But also, as there are certain instances in that process, some of it could be partially dewatered, where we would need a different type of truck to move that material away from Crown, which is why currently we have 2, and we're asking for likely 2 again. We don't know yet because we're going out to publicly procure. But these are good organic materials that are used by our current vendors in the development of topsoil and other additives so that it doesn't go back into the lake, right? So both the dewatered and the partially dewatered currently, as our current vendors provide, those materials are reused for different purposes. And it is, again, a critical part of the water treatment process at Crown. We are asking for authority for the 2 years with an approximate, I didn't put a number, sorry.
It's 2 years.
That's correct.
Right. And currently, we got two contractors, and one of them is a Cleveland-owned and ran business, correct?
Yes.
Emerald?
Emerald on St. Clair, that's in Kent, Ohio.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But the difference, again, between the 2 current vendors, one takes the dewatered, the cake material, and the other would take the partially dewatered, which would be a sludge material. And the current vendor has a drying bed in the Akron area where they put the material out and let it complete the dewatering process and then reuse that material. So we're going out to bid, so we don't know what other possible vendors are out there or technologies, but that's the current contracts that do expire in July of this year.
All right, any questions on 1513, 2025? Councilwoman Hudson.
Through the chair to the director, so we pay the vendors to transport this material. Do they then sell it to third parties?
Chairman, to the council member, they use it as a byproduct, which is important to us and part of the RFP process, but how it is ultimately used, our purpose, again, through the chairman to the council member, is we have to get it off site, right? And we don't have a way to move it to a treatment facility. So we do look for a positive reuse of these materials. These are good, clean, organic materials. But at the Division of Water or in the Department of Public Utilities, we don't have a good reuse for it. But again, it would be imperative to the vendor to reuse it in some capacity because the treatment of it or disposal of it comes with a cost also. So we're happy with the full process, but once it gets off of our facility, it is their property.
Okay, and so just to be clear, through the chair, there's 2 types of trucks. One you said is for wet materials, and the other one is for dry. And you said that Crown is unique, so it's because this is extracted from the lake water, not from sewage?
Chairman to the council member, no, they're all of the water treatment plants are lake water, but the other 3 are connected to a treatment plant. NERSD are an important partner of ours at the sewer district, that we force those sludge materials to NERSD for treatment, right? So Crown is outside of NERSD's treatment facility, so we don't have a way to move it other than to truck it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any other questions on 1513, 2025?
So moved.
Seeing none, please sign up. Ordinance number 30, 2026, by council members Casey and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the purchase by one or more requirement contracts of valves, actuators, and appurtenances.
Nice.
You like that, huh? And labor and materials needed to repair, replace, maintain, exercise, and test existing valves, valve actuators, and valve appurtenances, and to provide related services for the Division of Water, Department of Public Utilities for a period of 2 years. Director, this is going out to bid?
Correct, Chairman, yes.
And this is for stop valves, right?
All valves.
All
Curb stop,
valves.
butterfly, yeah.
Current co-
Gate, cone,
Current-
plug, ball.
Current contract is with FCX Performance, expires in August. Thank you very much for bringing this to our committee now so that we're not rushing at the, come August. FCX is a Cleveland business. Any questions on 30-2026? Seeing none, 30-2026 stands approved. Please sign up. Ordinance 184, 2026, by council members Casey and Griffin by departmental request, an emergency ordinance authorizing the purchase by one or more requirement contracts of labor, materials, and equipment necessary to perform various tree trimming services for the Division of Cleveland Public Power, Department of Public Utilities for a period of 2 years. Director?
Yes, thank you, Chairman, to the committee. This is a recurring contract with the Division of Cleveland Public Power. We have added a tremendous amount of focus, energy, and dollars of our customer into the tree trimming program at Cleveland Public Power. We do go out to publicly procure this and find a local vendor who has the capacity to serve our customers. We do have internal forestry crews, 4 to be exact, which would include an arborist and a trimmer and a laborer. But in certain instances, and obviously the number of trees, we've determined that we need to augment that, and that's why we use this contract for. This includes the cutting back of tree branches and foliage around electrical lines, maintaining clear rights of way on public and private properties, removal of brush, trees, saplings, and other vegetation, and shrubs and trees. It's essential for the reliable delivery of service. We have worked closely with the Commissioner of Forestry, both past and present, to develop the criteria in the RFP to ensure compliance with the methods, and it is a heavily regulated industry of trimming trees, and it's it's difficult, right? Because it's not always the prettiest, but in this instance, it's required for us to maintain service to our customers, and we're seeking authority to go out and seek that vendor for an additional 2 years at an approximate amount of $500,000 per year.
All right, Director, so we spend roughly how much a year?
Chairman, at least $500,000 a year in the vendor on tree trimming
Okay.
and removal.
And how many arborists does CPP have?
So there's 4 crews currently, Chairman, with the division internal to Cleveland Public Power, and they are very busy, but in the event of storms and other things, we have realized that we need to augment that staff in order to continue to deliver high, reliable, quality service.
All right, and then Director, this is for, well, this is going out to bid, so there's no certification of funds for it. However, the previous contract, which was a 2-year contract, we spent 1.8 million, and then before that, so are we really spending about $900,000 a year, or close to $1 million a year in tree trimming?
Chairman, we had a heavy year in 2023, the first year of this contract, to try to catch up, especially in the rear yard feeds on the east side of our service area, because that's where it takes a lot of coordination with the customers, and there's a lot of things in the backyards of some of our customers, so it takes a lot of time. So we did utilize them heavily in 2023. It went in through 24 and into 25. But we have tried to manage the budget to around $500,000. We did get an additional crew in 2025, which we're trying to find the happy median between internal CPP crews and external tree trimming vendors. And that is something we continue to evaluate and will continue to evaluate, because trees and power, they can't
don't-
coexist.
All right, I'll open it up for questions on 184, 2026. Councilman Polensek.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, my honorable colleagues, and to the director, to the commissioner. So there are 4 crews presently. How many people what's the total workforce?
Total workforce of Cleveland Public Power?
No,
through the
of
chairman
the
to
4
council?
crews.
8. Chairman to the council member, 8.
Total of 8. And where do they work out of?
Commissioner.
Through the chair, we have them evenly split between the West Side Service Center, and the East Side Service Center.
Okay, so you would have two crews east, 2 crews west, okay.
Correct.
What's the status and the condition of the equipment that they have? Their trucks, the vehicles, their equipment?
Commissioner?
Through the chair, as I understand it, all of their equipment is functional and well-preserved. We
Okay.
go through it relatively quickly. I don't know how many chainsaws we go through a year, but it is not insubstantial.
Okay. What I'm trying to understand, because I don't have to, all of us know this crazy weather we've experienced, and being a lakefront ward and heavily tree-lined, it seems like I just get pounded repeatedly, and I'm still dealing. In fact, there was a crew out right now around the house, around the corner from my house, working on a tree now. I'm trying to understand, have you ever evaluated contracting with, or through an internal charge, with urban forestry, where they would hire the crews, they would hire the personnel, and we would use internal crews to augment or to supplement what we're doing,
Chairman.
rather than going out with a private contract?
Director?
Chairman, to the councilman, we have had extensive conversations with the Division of Urban Forestry. The certifications associated with the arborist of a tree and the arborist of a tree near energy power distribution, there's a dramatic difference. And in that is the requisite pay for that skill set. So yes, we have had the conversation and will continue to have the conversation, both not only from the personnel and civil service perspective, but the collective bargaining agreement perspective, and try to find a way to bridge that gap. But as it currently stands, daily coordination with the Division of Forestry. If they come into contact with energy distribution, it becomes our responsibility, and vice versa. We do rely on them if we see things when we're out in the field addressing the distribution of energy. We coordinate closely with the commissioner and the director to make sure that their crews are aware. We're trying not to duplicate, but also to respect the unique skill sets of these valuable employees.
Okay. So did you also analyze, you have the 4 crews now, total of 8 personnel. Did you think about bringing on maybe 2 additional crews with the funds that we're utilizing right now, so we could have that ongoing year-round? Because that's the challenge that I'm constantly confronted with. It seems to me, and I have these reoccurring problems, like on East 177th Street, East 124th Street in the Glenville neighborhood, where the power just repeatedly goes out, and nobody can tell me why. So it's very clear to me, we just have to do, it's that old commercial, either pay now or you pay later. So we just got to get on top, more on top than ever before, of trimming trees, and in some cases having to remove trees, which is unfortunate because majority of us in here are very tree conscious. But again, as the chairman indicated, we have spent, and I forget what the dollar amount was you just indicated, Councilman, Mr. Chairman, as it pertains to what we have spent in the past. Would it be more cost effective, again, to bring on 2 additional crews? Again, 1 east side, 1 west side, to try to get on top of this ongoing problem. What I've learned with the oak tree in my front yard, that's on the tree lawn, I've replaced my sidewalks twice since I've lived there, and I bought that house in 1990 because the city tree has lifted my sidewalks. And what my neighbor and I were talking with the other day, because his sidewalks are sticking up in the air, he's got to get his fixed. that the trees don't get any smaller, they get bigger. And I can just see this one from the time that I've lived there, how big this oak has gotten on my tree lawn. And I look at my entire street, and as the director indicated, on the northeast side, I don't know how it is on the west side, but the CPP lines are all in the backyards. And that is a major problem when it comes, as I've learned, as you have been out in my neighborhood, and I appreciate the chairman have come out, where in some of these backyards, unfortunately, where you have to fight through what people have in their yard just to get to the pole, and then trying to get up the pole. And what I've seen, poison ivy on the poles. I've seen vines on the poles so thick that you think you're in a jungle somewhere, that they can't even get up the pole. So I'm trying to figure out what we can do year round on a more preventive maintenance level where we can just try. We're never going to resolve the storm damage. I mean, that's the reality. This stuff comes in. Those 80-mile-an-hour winds that came in my neighborhood, that storm from 2 weeks ago, whatever, and just snapped poles in half. I've seen some crazy storms, but I haven't seen that before. And I thought I'd seen everything. I mean, poles just snapped in half right on Villaview Road, down Villaview Road. So that's where I'm at. I'm trying to figure out how we can get a better handle on this situation, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman, to the council member, and thank you for recognizing the challenges that our crews and the division faces. We do regularly examine the internal resources versus using our customer's dollar to pay an outside vendor. And it is something that we take very seriously. I do know that we added a crew in recent memory to try to continue this evaluation. At one point, we were over $1 million a year. We're trying to find the middle ground. If we allowed all of our vendors and internal arborists to trim up to the standards as established nationwide, our neighborhoods would look dramatically different. So we try to be cognizant of the importance of our tree canopy, the aesthetics of our streets that have the heavy tree canopy. We respect that, but that requires more trimming, right? So everything is a balance when you try to move power from point A to point B through a lot of neighborhoods that are heavily treed. And as you said on the east side, Chairman, to the council member, those are including private property trees. Those are rear yard, large 150-year-old oak trees that we are trying to move power through. So appreciate your comments that it is not easy, that we do hire experts in the field to try to push our internal crews and to push how we do business and deliver service. And the level of coordination, I don't think, has ever been greater than now between the commissioner and his staff and the forestry division. And I think that's important because how we leave these streets is a reflection of how we treat our customers, both on their side and our side. So I think I look forward to continuing those conversations, to continue to evaluate how we utilize these outside resources and respect our neighborhoods.
But just on that point, do you calculate what two additional crews would cost from the standpoint of equipment and for salaries and fringe benefits? I mean, is there any idea what that would cost?
Through the chair, I do know that we have, I don't have it off the top of my head, but that's definitely part of the calculus in terms of where
All
we
right.
need to invest.
Do you have that, Tina? All right. And are you good?
Thank you.
And then, Director, is there a standard set in the city of Cleveland, either through DPU or Urban Forestry, if you know, or have you ever collaborated with them about the expectations of what it should attempt to look like once a tree is trimmed? Because there's nothing worse than
The goalpost?
I call them the V's, I call them the Y, but it could aesthetically, it could literally aesthetically ruin a whole street, right? If they come through, and I understand there's the job because it is a touchy situation when you have to come in, but is there a certain standard, or is there a standard nationwide, right? That the preservation of a tree should still be taken into account when it's just tree trimming for clearing power lines?
There are clear standards, Chairman, and you can drive some neighborhoods that have CPP on one side and our competitor on the other side, or the investor-owned utility on the other side, and you see the difference in how we approach it versus some of the others, which are compliant under the industry mandate, right? So we look through all of these materials, and the difference between what we do on the power, moving of power side, and what urban forestry does on tree maintenance or health is dramatically different. So we have seen it, we try to avoid it if there's a way, if we believe that if the health of the tree is a concern based on internal or external trimming of what we have to do to move power, we immediately have forestry on site. We tell them what we have to do and try to coordinate to the best of our ability. This is routine maintenance, and there's been instances, and sometimes our external vendor is working for other entities, right? So, and they catch negative, they have a negative impact on a neighborhood that falls on CPP where it wasn't under our contract that they were there. So yes, to the quick answer to your question is yes, there are standards, and yes, we follow them to the best of our ability, but those standards are for the distribution of power. They are not for the neighbor across the street who has to look at this.
Right.
So we take it seriously.
Okay. Councilwoman Hudson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Following up on that, through the chair, what is the distance required between power lines, the national standard for the clearance between power lines and tree branches?
Through the chair, it depends on the voltage, and it also is not, you can't think of it necessarily as tunneling a pipe through the tree, because part of the safety and health of the tree is trimming back to the right location on the tree. So it's not necessarily a sense of you pull out a tape measure. If I'm remembering correctly, the minimum approach is something like 1.5 feet, but especially when you're excuse me, when you're going through and trimming, you're not trimming for that moment in time as well. You're trimming for 3 years to 7 years.
Okay, thank you. And you said that CPP, and I do appreciate what you said, because I do visually see the difference between the competitor and CPP. So CPP takes a more conservative approach when trimming branches to clear power lines than is required nationally.
Through the chair, I would say that is correct. As the director said, we still comply with the standards. We try to get out there more frequently and take, yes, a more conservative approach in terms of protecting the health and aesthetics of the tree.
Okay, and through the chair, regarding trimming, is an arborist on site when the trimming is being done to ensure that the cuts are not, damaging to the tree's overall health?
Chairman, to the council member, so part of the RFP includes that a certified arborist does need to be on that crew. Now, it might not be a city arborist, right? But the composition of the crew and the requirements of it and the licensures that they have is part of the RFP process. So we do require that an arborist be there. We've ran into some conflicts between an internal arborist and a industry standard arborist where we haven't liked what we've seen. It's not perfect, but we have developed an RFP that we believe delivers the level of service that we expect.
Okay, thank you. So that leads into my next question, which is, do you take into consideration past practice of previous outside vendors and feedback from residents when determining who to award future contracts to?
Chairman, to the council member, we certainly do, but the procurement process is set by law, and it's not unique to tree trimming where there's only a certain number of possibilities out there that can meet the standards, the response times that we need to have for our customers, and the necessary insurance and bonds. So we have tried over the years a number of different ways to get some of these more smaller, more local, highly qualified to get in the mix, both on the public works forestry side and at CPP side, but the procurement process is dictated by law. So while we hear it and those complaints are filed with either the law department by way of claims, all of those things follow the process, and if there should be not disqualified, but an adverse vendor report filed with the Office of Procurement and Law, then yes, it would impact their evaluation.
Okay, thank you. And through the chair, are local companies given any priority through the RFP process? I know in my own personal experience, having tree work done in my very tight, dense, typical Cleveland neighborhood, the local contractors are better equipped to handle the situations that come up.
Chairman, to the council member, so the goal is a 20% CSB participation. The current vendor got a good faith effort by the Department of OEO, but it looks like theirs was just by way of a fuel. It's a petroleum certified small business that they have used both in this last contract. So again, the procurement of these services is driven by law. So all of those OEO participation goals are set, and we really push all of our vendors to meet them. I agree with you completely, as I have, I think when I moved in 2005, I had 7 oak trees in my backyard, and now I have 2. So I'm very familiar with the difference and caliber of vendors that are out there, especially in our area. But it is a focus of department-wide to try to find a way to get these highly specialized contracts and piece them off to get a more diverse pool of vendors to put in for it. It's proven to be difficult, but we've had some successes, and we're going to continue to try.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That's all.
Thank you, Councilwoman Hudson. But also, they have to apply, correct?
They have to bid on it.
Right.
yes.
I mean, there's an RFP going out, so if you know of any local vendors who you would think would be able to take on this kind of task, they're more than welcome to bid on it. Councilman Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through the chair to the director here, thanks again for presenting on this. Correct me if I'm wrong, so during the budget discussions, which were very long and my brain did shut down, we had a conversation with the Commissioner of Urban Forestry. If I recall, Urban Forestry handles the cleanup after the tree trimming. Your furrowed brow tells me maybe that I'm misremembering. Just maybe explain to me where the cleanup for post tree maintenance comes in?
Director.
Chairman, to the council member, and that's also a big difference on how we do things and how other people do things. I believe that conversation was on how we don't leave any debris. We do trim, but we take all of the stuff with us. We have the chippers and the trucks so we hope to think that we're going to leave it better than we found it, but we're going to take some branches off their tree.
And through the chair, that bears repeating then that your CPP's arborists and contractors hopefully
Yes.
are full service. They do the trimming, they do the chipping, they clean it up, they leave it.
Yes.
Hopefully it's better than they found it.
Chairman of the council member, I would have one in emergency response. Sometimes it will be days later, but in a routine trim or maintenance, yes, we take it.
Thank you. And then through the chair, a second question, of course, and I'm going to always bring this up, is burying your power lines, while expensive, would probably solve some of these arborist problems, wouldn't they?
From the trees, Chairman, to the council member, you are correct.
That's always, I mean, it was on my mind during the 80-mile-an-hour winds with the trees knocking over our power lines. And like you said, I mean, completely reasonable. How do you get a guy up on a bucket when the winds are blowing folks around, battering? If they're knocking over trees, they're going to knock over a cherry picker. Completely understood. But one has to figure that burying our power lines might be part of the long-term solution to problems like that. Through the chair?
To 85-mile-an-hour winds, Chairman, to the council member, I would tend to agree with you, but that was unique. And to that point in the conversations that we had, our crews did do a really, really good job at a peak of almost 18,000 customers out to be back within 24 hours. As the winds persisted, I could not think about that event without commending the men and women of the Division of Cleveland Public Power who responded, and to the commissioner and his team. As often as I say it, it might not feel like it, but I do appreciate what they do.
And through the chair, of course, and I'll even emphasize, there were a number of bars and restaurants without power on Friday, and they understood Friday was the worst day
Yeah.
of the bunch, but they had power back on Saturday, which is the biggest business day, so I was glad to see that. It's through the chair, I have yet to really crack on this, but I do think in the long term, let's figure out ways to bury more of our power lines, if it's part of CBAs, if it's council discretionary dollars, if it's a long-term capital improvement plan for CPP, burying our power lines, particularly in our denser areas, considering these crazy weather events that are just getting worse and worse and worse, and the expense and the reliability, et cetera. There's something here, so I hope we
Yes.
can work on that.
Thank you.
I yield. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Anybody else? Seeing no further questions, 184, 2026 stands approved. Please sign up. Ordinance number 237, 2026, by council members Casey and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Utilities to enter into one or more requirement contracts without competitive bidding with OPEX Corporation to provide proprietary hardware and software support and on-call maintenance for mail extractor scanners and ID asset towers for the Division of Fiscal Control, Department of Public Utilities for a period of 2 years. Director, we've had numerous conversations about no bid contracts or without competitive bidding. So can you explain why we need to do that with this one?
Yes, thank you, Chairman and members of the committee. And I know, Chairman, you've had an opportunity to see these machines at work, and we look forward to having the rest of the committee over to see how the Office Fiscal Control operates, works, and uses this equipment to process efficiently the payments of our customers. So OPEX are the machines that open the mail that we get. On a traditional day, it's between 8,000 and 10,000 pieces of mail is opened and processed. The OPEX machines are critical to what we do for our customers, which again is the efficient processing of the payment. After it's opened, it's scanned, right? And then it gets onto the software side where that payment is not only to the respective portal, and for context, this is the Division of Water Pollution Control, CPP, and we are also the payment vendor for Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District. So it's thousands of pieces of mail, not only the opening of it, but then the efficient processing of it. So OPEX is the equipment that we publicly procured years and years ago. It meets the standards that we expect for our customers, but also it is heavily regulated when you process someone's money, their check, right? So we have to follow a number of different criteria to make sure that it's done safely and discreetly and respecting all of those important relationships that we have with the customer. So the OPEX machines are the actual machines that open, scan it, and then send it either to our payment processing software, which is the next ordinance, which is in and of itself confusing, and I apologize, but also to the respective platforms that we use to serve our customers. So the CC&V platforms, both at CPP, Water Pollution Control and Water, the payment is scanned and then processed, attributed to a payment file to those respective softwares, and then it gets into the IT craziness. So that's the proprietary nature of this relationship with these OPEX machines, not only from the machines themselves and how they do it, but then how they process, image, scan, and appropriately move that payment. That's what we're seeking to maintain. Any one of these machines go down, and it affects our operation and our staff. So we have to make sure 24/7 on-call customer service with the vendors to come, not the vendors, but the technicians to come and to provide their expert service in getting that machine back into business. So yes, it is proprietary, but yes, it is critical to how we accept a payment and then move that payment through to completion. And we are looking for a 2-year continuation of that relationship for the approximate amount of $176,000.
All right. Any questions on 237, 2026? Seeing none, 237, 2026 stands approved. Please sign up. Our last one, ordinance number 280, 2026 by council members Casey and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Utilities to enter into one or more contracts with Bank Tech, Inc. for software support and maintenance services for its payment processing system for the Division of Utilities Fiscal Control, Department of Public Utilities for a period of 2 years. Director, this is the fiscal machines, this is the software for actual collecting the money and paying bills, correct?
Chairman, that's correct. So Bank Tech is our provider of that software that takes that scanned image of a financial document and then moves it to its destination, obviously in banks. So it is heavily regulated with the banking industry. The software is linked into these respective financial institutions, whereas it speaks the same language. And again, it's really important that these happen efficiently, not only as an operation on our side, but for our customer. The last thing you want is a payment to sit in limbo for any number of times. So the Bank Tech software is what we have for a number of years now used to move that payment of whatever type to whatever respective division through to its completion, including with those banking institutions. So Bank Tech is critical to what we do and how we serve our customers. It's approximately $50,000 a year for the maintenance of this software, which has all of the immediate response and technicians available immediately. And we look forward to continuing that relationship if the authority is given.
Any questions on 280, 2026? Paying bills? Seeing none, 280, 2026 stands approved. Please sign up. Director, in the upcoming months, we have a lot of new members of Cleveland City Council, so we'd like to coordinate and get this committee out in the field a little, right? So we'd like to do a walkthrough of Crown. An open house at Crown, just because I know the open house is May 9th, right? May 9th is.
You don't need to register, but encourage any of your constituents to go on to the website and register for the open house. Those seats
Right.
fill up quick, but we'll find a way to get council
Well,
members.
we also want to get the council out there for a walkthrough of Crown as well. Also, the service centers for CPP on either side, the east side and the west side service center. And then there's Kirby. I don't. Then and Kirby, and we'll see.
Kirby's a great facility.
Kirby's a
Sure.
wonderful facility. I
Good
love
people
going.
work
I love going to Kirby. But I want to get the committee out to each of the divisions to just kind of give a little behind the scenes show of how things actually work. I don't think utilities is an extremely complex service, right? And sometimes I don't think people appreciate the hard work and dedication that goes into, every time you turn a faucet on, it's just not automatically clean water. There's a whole process that goes to doing that. Same with water pollution control, and people just hit the switch in their dining room and the light comes on and they just think that it comes on. They don't know of the process that we have to go through. So I'd like to educate the committee on some of the processes that DPU goes through in order to provide the services that we do. And you guys do, in my opinion, you do a yeoman's job. And one of the good things that I always say is that, even when we're on the national stage, is that how lucky we are in the city of Cleveland, because we actually own our utility company in Cleveland Public Power and our own water department. And we see the service, especially, I know the Cleveland Public Power takes it on the chin sometimes, but when you get the actual direct service that you do with Cleveland Public Power, it's appreciated. I know we take a hit sometimes, but it's not too many people in the city can just actually pick up the phone and get the commissioner or the director and have a crew on site as soon as something happens. And we'll take last night as an example when, to nobody's fault, there's a pole gets hit, right? And then it's not the driver who hit the pole who takes the hit for it. It's Cleveland Public Power because the power went out, but it really wasn't Cleveland Public Power's fault. It's just we work really hard to restore the problem that arises to us. So I just wanted to make sure that, we get educated on this side as well on the hard work and dedication that DPU does. So, Director?
No, thank you for that, and certainly always, doors are always open. And Chief Margaret Jackson, it's been kind of a whirlwind 2026, not only for the new members, but from the utility side. But Chief Margaret Jackson, certainly, we had every intention of getting it scheduled for March. I don't know if that's
Right.
going to happen, but in April, not only at 1201, which is kind of the supporting, that's where these OPEX machines and the bank tech and the call centers for Cleveland Water, and I think that's an important thing to see, but each of the respective outlying facilities and the people that work there do amazing work every day, and to be recognized not only by council, but by us who don't get there every day is important. So we look forward to it. Whatever you want to see, the crib is really hard to get to, but we can work on it if that's on the agenda, but that'll take some planning. But the other facilities that are on land, certainly it's an open book, and appreciated the continued support of not only the committee and the chairman, but of council. And yeah, we look forward to it.
All right. Anything else? Yes, Councilman Fulensick.
Mr. Chairman, under miscellaneous, we touched on this briefly about damage, but poles being hit. And I've had so many poles hit on Lakeshore Boulevard. I think at the rate I'm going, I'll have all new poles on Lakeshore Boulevard. What action do we take against the drivers who hit our poles?
Director?
So, Chairman, to the council member, if the driver is identified and the vehicle remains, we do file claims and polls are unique, but we do have historically filed claims when they're charged with a crime by way of restitution. If there are any other lawsuits, the law department is very aggressive in linking in our damages to that.
Yeah.
It happens more often when the water side with a fire hydrant,
Yeah.
right, in the suburban communities or in Cleveland, for
Right.
that matter. We do a lot more processing of claims at water, but at CPP, when there is an identifiable party responsible for hurting the equipment that our customers own, then yes, we are very aggressive in pursuing
Okay.
restitution for those dollars.
Okay. Is there any effort made to look at police safety and security cameras as it pertains to those poles being hit? Because some they just hit them and they just take off, as we know. You know, part of their car's left there on the tree lawn, and then they just take off. So do we do anything to go back and look at safety and security cameras?
Director?
We do file police reports regularly.
Okay.
And then ask that it be followed up with public safety. We don't
Okay.
have access to a lot of that footage.
Okay.
Right, but when it is a proximity to our other assets, we do provide that in the
Yeah.
course of the investigation
Okay.
in order to identify who it is.
Okay.
You know, so
Okay.
we take it very seriously. These are our customers' assets.
Okay.
And people are hurting it, and if
Thank
we
you.
can hold someone accountable, we certainly do.
Okay. And then on utility cuts, with Enbridge, formerly East Ohio Gas, Dominion East Ohio, according to engineering, Enbridge is required or was required to hire, I can never figure this one out, an inspector who's supposed to inspect their work, but they're hired by Enbridge. And I'm looking at the work that Enbridge has done, not only in sidewalks, but in the street, in the public right-of-way. And I've had a major problem with them. Do we, from a standpoint of utilities, is there any governance under the Department of Public Utilities, or is it just under MOCAP and engineering that holds Enbridge responsible or looks at the work that they do?
Director?
Chairman, to the council member, for a private utility opening up the right-of-way, that
Yeah.
would be under MOCAP.
Under MOCAP.
My understanding, we have the standards that we follow as dictated by
Yeah.
MOCAP, right? And ours is policed not only internally, our crews, but those that we hire to do it, to the compliance, to the standards of MOCAP, and then we take pictures, and
Okay.
we do as best as we can, but as for Enbridge, I have no authority over them.
Okay. So then my last point is the ongoing issue as I've constantly drive my ward, but as I was really driving, checking on street conditions, working on my resurfacing list, just the number of wires hanging, Spectrum wires, AT&T wires hanging. And I had that situation, as the commissioner of CPP knows, on Lakeshore Boulevard, where that pole was leaning at a 45-degree angle, and I was getting beat up every day by residents about this pole, but it wasn't our pole. It was either AT&T or Spectrum. I know who the contact person is for AT&T, and he's pretty responsible. On Spectrum, it continues to be an issue with me. Is there a better contact person for Spectrum, or do you have somebody that when we contact, we can get some action? I mean, these wires just hanging all over the place, and I don't get it.
And before you answer that, I do want to let the committee know that we're working with Brooke to come up with an internal meeting with
Yeah.
CPP, First Energy, Verizon, Crown, Spectrum, and regarding poles, utility poles in the city of Cleveland and the way they're maintained and everything. So that's in the process of being put together right now, and we'll let you know more on that.
Okay.
But, you know, you're right. I mean,
Oh, man,
our responsibility is the highest
Right.
line, right? Everything underneath that is
So-
a different utility, but we are in the process,
Okay.
Mike, of
So
working on that.
just on that point, Mr. Chairman, to the commissioner. So we know we, as the chairman indicated, the very top wire is power. We all know that. At least most of us know that. As we go down the pole, then it's cable. Besides Spectrum and AT&T, who else has got wires on our pole?
Chairman to the council member, there's still from the old pole boxes when you had the fire alarm on the corner, there's still those wires. I mean, these go back hundreds of years. So I can't name who it is. The biggest problem for us is we're the closest. We're arm's length CPP. So the amount of work that we do for other utilities and anything we can do to engage in this conversation or better
Right.
communicate opens our workers up to actually doing work that serves our customers. But every time you drive an alley and you see wires everywhere, or the residents don't know either, and we
Yeah.
can't ask them to go look and see if it's the highest on the pole,
Yeah.
right? We run a truck, we roll a crew of line workers that could be over working on the streetlights on any different street. So we certainly appreciate the frustrations. I can't put it on any individual company, private or public.
Yeah.
There's a lot of city-owned stuff from 100 years ago that's still flying in the sky that falls down, and we end up going and cutting it. So
Okay.
it's.
So in the
I
interim-
wish it were an easier problem. We would have solved it a long time ago if we could have, but we continue to engage and look forward to continuing to engage.
So I appreciate the action being taken by the chairman, but in interim time, if someone could get me
Yes.
what I would call a reasonable person from Spectrum that I can deal with, since Sandra Williams left,
Yes.
there's been a big deficit in my opinion. So I'd appreciate if I could have contact information for phone number, email for Spectrum. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes.
Councilwoman Gray.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to say, I want to thank you, Director, for all the immediate service that you have given the residents over time with Chair Councilman Casey, when I send those emails about the issues, concerns, and also your team, how you guys immediately help the residents in Ward 3 with their utilities, whether it's water or lights per se. I just want to say thank you for your immediate service and your help. I'm
Thank
much
you.
appreciative of that.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any other questions? Seeing none, utilities is adjourned until the call of the chair. Thank you.
Thank you.